All right, whenever you're ready.
So, my name is Raina. I own and operate Fresh Start Home Services out of Livingston, New York. And it is a cleaning and home organization company. While I do regular, standard residential cleanings, what I specialize in is more dysfunctional situations in homes and hoarders and elderly families with support systems. So this is kind of just the crash course in kind of what that looks like, because I try to break the mold of what traditional cleaning services look like, because traditionally they look almost always like a luxury. I'm sorry if you if you hire someone to clean your house because your brain breaks looking at your mess, or you dislocate your shoulders making your bed, that's not a luxury. It's not a luxury. So we're gonna talk about the benefits that you don't even realize will happen just from being in a clean home on your headspace. And by the way, when we talk about clean, we're not even talking about sparkling clean, we're just talking about decluttered or functioning for you. So this was connected in terms of having more people. But so again, told you who I am, and so this is who I am, what I'm not. I am a business owner, I'm a mother, sister, I'm a friend, I'm a colleague. Here's what I'm not. I am not a psychologist, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a mental health professional, I'm not authorized to give any type of medical advice. I am adult and youth mental health certified, I am QPR trained, so I can operate in that sense. Advocate, and I am getting further education from the Institute of Challenging Disorders. And the other thing that I definitely am is imperfect, and the thing that I do not have is a perfectly clean home nor car.
Can't confirm.
Be my son. So a good thing to do for the people who are in the room is saying your own name and why you were brought here and what you can take from this, and or something that, the hard thing that you want to work on, that is probably why you're here. How about you?
My name's Peter. I am here to learn about maybe how I can get started. I feel like getting started is the hardest part. Like, once I get started, I can usually clean my place in one fell swoop, and it comes pretty easily. But just picking up that first dish is can be kind of tricky. So, yeah.
I am Steven. I'm her son. I was mostly brought here because why not? As I said, I am her son, so even though I was mostly brought here because why not, it is helpful for me because I have trouble actually picking up my room. My room has been a mess for the past how many months, and yeah.
Exactly. So that's the point, right? Everybody has a thing, and this isn't about perfect systems. This isn't about one way to do anything. This is about, well, mostly like Peter said, it's looking for the place to start, and then once you find that place to start, we find out what works for you so you can keep it. So, like we said, it's not even just about clean, it's about mess, it's about piles, and when you have piles and clutter, this leads to stress, anxiety, overwhelm, and maintaining that clean space has been proven. It boosts your mood, your productivity, your overall well-being, and we're gonna look at how, like we said, keeping the clutter down impacts your mental health. First and foremost, it seems obvious, it reduces your stress and anxiety, okay? Clutter creates visual noise, overstimulates the brain. So one thing that stuck with me from the time I was very young, my mother taught me when we were overwhelmed, like my son said in a cleaning room, the best place to start is making your bed, because that's the focal point of the room. It's an easy thing, and once you start there, it usually makes everything just fall together. So with a lot of my clients, we do that in what we like to do in real life scenarios. is we tried to pick the favorite room or the room of calm, and where they go to recenter every day. It is usually almost a bedroom. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's kitchen or a craft room, and we find the focal point and start from there. And again, further going, once your home and your space is clean and controlled, promotes relaxation and a sense of control, because it's not just about dirt and grime. It's about being able to relax in your space and sit. Like, mess equals stress. Clutter equals chaos. If you're sitting in it and it's just unsettling, you're not going to be happy. So that is why decluttered home leads to decluttered mind. One thing we apply is the 6-month rule. We can taper this down to a different set of time frame that works for other people, but in general, it is a statistically and scientifically proven amount of time that if you have something, unless it is a very unique item or a seasonal item or a sentimental item, if you have not touched it in 6 months, you probably will not do so again, and you should probably get rid of it. This actually, I'm guilty of this all the time. My husband will probably laugh because it has to happen with me when I bring things home, and he goes, "You're gonna use this?" And I go, "Start the clock." I don't throw it away because I probably forgot about it. So, again, we talk about science, and it has been absolutely proven that disorganization increases cortisol, which is the stress hormone. I said before, mess equals stress. When we keep too many things, when we don't have structure, when we don't have organization, we are just filling our minds with too much stimuli. We are cluttering our minds. This causes our senses and our minds to work overtime on what is not necessary, not important. Thus, if you hear things like overthinking, and you're not focused. Clutter distracts us by drawing our attention away from what the focus should be on. So, how many times, you could be a student, be at work, could be, this affects anyone of all ages. How often are you supposed to be doing something, whether it's a presentation and or even the opposite, it's your day off and you don't want to do anything, and the room that you're in is completely dysfunctional. You have dishes in the sink, or you have 10, what I like to call doom piles. You're not going to be able to relax and do what you wanted to do because you were surrounded by a mess. Next benefit is it improves your focus and productivity. An organized space reduces distractions that makes it easier to concentrate. Your organization saves time when you're searching for lost items. Simply put, when everything has a place, you can grab and go, you get on with your day. So again, we talk about starting simply. What are the easiest things when we're adults that we're taught to put systems in? Your keys, your phone, your wallet. You want to know where all of those things are. Those are your staple items to getting out of the house. When you start with that, it's a lot easier to find systems for everything else. So case in point, if you're, a teacher or other type of professional, when you go home, you probably want a special place for your work bag to go at the end of the day, so that you know exactly where it is, because there is absolutely nothing worse than getting up and having a time frame of somewhere to be and what you need is not there. So this is where we open up and what clutter exists in your home. So if you pick a room right now, you're a good one.
Piles of random nonsense.
Right, and what does that look like? To you, what is physically there?
Books, school supplies, craft supplies.
And does it really need to be where it is right now?
No, probably not.
Right, and how does that make you feel?
Relatively stressed out and annoyed.
Right, and how about you? You sit right now and you visualize not even just your whole home, if that's too much, but a room or the primary room. What's in there right now that shouldn't be where it is?
Clothes. Everywhere.
Is that relatable?
Yes.
The wardrobe. That's always a great topic. The wardrobe. And that, and it's another fantastic topic because I end up, if anyone can take a guess, what is the most common generational cohort that I work with? You can take a guess out of millennials, Gen X, boomers, or Gen Z, who is the most common one coming to me with problem? Take a guess. Gen X.
Yeah.
Gen X comes to me most often.
Oh, interesting.
Gen X is the most common one for me, that comes to me going, I have no idea why, but I've had too many things and the system doesn't work for me. And the way, this is my personal experience within my company and my process. And most of the time I diagnose that, even without knowing their age, by going over to their closet and removing the door or taking their dresser drawers out. Because it seems to be the most common age frame, happens to millennials too, where there seems to be this stuck mindset of there's only one way to do something, there's only one way to organize, and things only can be put in one place. Clothes always have to be in a drawer, dishes always have to be in the cabinet. You know, functionally, that can make sense. But with what a lot of people struggle with is the out of sight, out of mind concept. Once we shut the doors or things can't be seen, we don't know what we have. So with clothes, that happens a lot. A lot of times we have either way too many or we don't see them. So we don't know what we want to do. We can't make decisions. Next benefit is enhancing mood and mental clarity. A clean and organized space promotes positive energy and motivation. And again, when we have less piles and everything has a place, what happens? What should happen? We have natural light, fresh air, cleanliness. This improves the emotional well-being. Again, these are things you don't necessarily think about. It's an autonomy that's already happening. So it seems like common sense, right? If everything's put away and everything is clean, the air is cleaner, the light's coming through the windows because nothing's obstructing them. But it's not necessarily something we're automatically thinking about, right? Because it's like within our bodies. We're not telling our lungs to breathe air, we're not telling our hearts to beat, but they're necessities, right? It really is necessary to have piles put away and things cleaned up. And you typically don't realize it until you're experiencing the negative consequences. So then again, you're gonna feel accomplished, you're gonna feel a lot better after you're getting things cleaned up because you're gonna feel more motivated, leads in turn to feeling more self-esteem, you're going to end up accomplishing goals. It literally starts a domino effect. Encourages the healthy habits. Again, an automatic process. Seems like common sense. A clean kitchen inspires healthy eating choices. Tidy bedroom promotes sleep quality. Cleanliness fosters an overall sense of self-care and responsibility. Right? It makes sense, right? How many times have you wanted to you come home from work, you don't want to make dinner, right? Why? You're going to dirty the dishes. Because then you dirty the dishes, you have to wash them, then you're gonna have to put things in the garbage, you're gonna have to take out the garbage. Starts a chain effect. You don't wanna do any of that. And or worse, you did it yesterday and you didn't take care of it, and now it's waiting for you. It's inevitable. The bedroom thing speaks profoundly. It's very, very important because the human brain needs to absolutely reset at the end of the day. If you don't have things in place in that bedroom, and you don't reset yourself, you are setting yourself up for failure. Again, we're not talking about sparkling clean, but getting the clothes up off the floor, having direct access to your bed, direct access to the door. And I can go on about the sleep for a while. So less clutter means less mental stimulation before bed. What are the most common items that should not be in your hand or your bed that we're all guilty of? What is it? Your phone. Your phone, your television. It sounds odd because you're talking about cleaning and clutter, but there are a lot of times, and again, we can't, I'm not looking to control people's homes. And I'm not gonna lie, I did lose the fight in my own house. There's a TV in my bedroom. But if it was just me, it would not be in there. Light pollution does affect the brain. You want at least 30 minutes to an hour without that before you go to sleep. It absolutely impacts it. Because when everything is dark and we don't have the lights, melatonin in the body rises. So again, we want to keep ourselves free of all of that clutter before bed. And then we're talking about actual cleanliness, sheets, air, organized bedroom, create a restful environment. Again, it's obvious, but, you know, I'll speak to myself. I could not believe how I felt. I was at least in my late 20s when I realized actually how frequently you should be cleaning your sheets. I think I got to a staggering, quite embarrassing 7 months. No one told me. No one told me. I think I was about 25. I had no idea. When I found out, and I looked at the statistics, and I found out really what was happening in that wonderful biome I created, I threw them out. There was no washing them at that point. But you know, it's not a perfect system, and especially with different fabrics and such. But you want to aim for at least every 2 weeks. When we're talking clean air, right? I'm not telling you to run out and get an air purifier. I'm telling you to, you know, try to make the effort. When you have less clutter, you have less dust. And when you have less dust, you're going to breathe better. It's the one that we don't necessarily think of in terms of benefit, is strengthening our relationships. When you have a clean and decluttered home, you're going to reduce the tension among your family members or your roommates. How many times have you walked into a room and you've got things that don't belong to you? How many times in our house has that happened?
It's not very often.
Not anymore, right?
No.
We had good communication. We've talked about it. Do you live alone?
I do, but I haven't always. It's definitely a thing.
And it's happened, right? Maybe when
Absolutely.
you're younger with siblings, right? And especially when you're younger, and if you haven't established whose responsibility that is, it's always a great icebreaker or deal breaker for new people moving in together. Definitely was an interesting challenge, except the moment in my marriage. Because again, I'm not perfect. But yeah, when you have a decluttered home, you're going to create a welcoming space for guests and social interactions, if that is your thing. We don't have a ton of them, but we have some. Promotes teamwork and shared responsibility in household cleaning. What I mean by this is it is absolutely imperative to start this as young as you can. Children thrive and actually look for the structure. So if you're going to start, that is the best place. It's not that it can't be taught later, but it is definitely a lot easier to teach them when they're young. And it literally could be anything. Start with a small task. There's a lot of great resources about just easy chore charts or simple things that are age appropriate. It's another thing I do. I work with families. Sometimes we'll make even adult chore charts, but we make them completely custom fit to ages and other routines. In terms of relationships, again, I talked about I work with the elderly, specifically for my older clients. Decluttering and downsizing is really important to consider because, and I can speak from personal experience, I actually had a parent pass away who was a hoarder. And it has become a routine if you usually, probably about the age of 70 or older, completely not forced, but we will eventually have the discussion of the option about downsizing your items so we are unburdening your children. Because you do not want to know what that feels like to have, you want them to focus on grieving. I cannot stress that enough. I will speak in personal experience. I had a parent whose hoarder passed away. I could not go through their things. I do this for a living. I went in their home 3 times and I could not do it. I had to pass the task. It is a lot, and even if you are not a hoarder and it's just regular items, I cannot stress that enough. Go through your things, itemize everything, downsize. You're going to make things inevitably much better for everyone, and you'll feel a lot better too. So talk a little bit about what I do. So in terms of specifically for my company, I talked about at the beginning that I really just do not believe that this is 100% a luxury. So we take an individualized approach, and that means from the beginning I take a history, and you really don't even realize that, you know, we're taking a history. I keep it very loose. It's a lot like this. We're just talking. I never charge for my consults. I don't think I've ever had a phone call until it lasts less than 45 minutes. Because it is absolutely important, crucial even, to establish a relationship with anyone who's coming to look for these resources, because that's the hardest part. Like anything else, asking for help is the hardest part. And it makes me really cringe when I watch other companies and certain approaches, because I can tell if they did it wrong, it starts a clock. That person probably got set back a year. Thankfully, I've gotten people much sooner, and I multiple times have had people come to me tell me that I was the second and or third person they came to, and it was about 6 months to a year apart. I have had clients come to me with what we call, you know, the you don't hit it very often, but the point of no return. You don't want to get there where you have gotten to a point of having a unfit for human occupancy sign at your door. You don't want to get there. So yeah, so we take the history, because when we talk about it, we can determine the cause, the pattern, and we're back to the generational cohorts. That matters. How you were raised impacts how your organization and your cleaning patterns are. If you lived in chaos socially, maybe you had divorced parents. Maybe you had a lot of siblings. There's a lot of different versions of that. A lot of times that can lead to people holding on to things that they shouldn't, and or not keeping a clean home. Very subconscious. We come up with customized plans. That's really important. Again, we talk about not having only one way to do something. A customized plan can look like lots of different things. It can literally look like step by step. You know, if you're neurodivergent, that's probably a good fit for you, right? Sometimes it's not though. Sometimes we keep it really loose. That's where sometimes the reward systems come in. All of my I have reward systems with the adults more often than the kids, and that can literally be anything. I have someone whose reward is Mexican food when I am not there. Because it matters. When you feed the brain dopamine, you're more likely to get things done, right? So I know for myself, my reward system is crossing things off the list. Because it happens to me too, if I have too much clutter and I haven't done things in a while, I'm a list maker. And I'm a list maker and I like odd numbers. So every third task, I put in a small reward. Even if it's a matter of, I take a 15-minute break and or, you know, go for a walk or look at my phone. It is something that's not cleaning. It's something that's not on my list, but it's placed in there. And then I get the gratification of physically crossing something off. So we apply body doubling a lot. We don't, do either of you know what body doubling is? You ever heard of this? Okay. So body doubling is a really fantastic natural phenomenon that happens, not with everyone, but it happens a lot. And if anyone doesn't know what that is, more or less it is an autonomic response of when someone else is either coming or already there, most often already there, where you end up just automatically productive and getting done what needs to be done. And or you've probably done it and not realized it. How many of you have absolutely no plan of getting anything done, and then you get a phone call of, hey, I figured I'd drop by, I was in town, I'm gonna come see you, I'll be there in 15 minutes. You never cleaned your house so fast in your life, have you? It's a offshoot of body doubling, but I've literally been hired to be a body double. Because sometimes just knowing that someone is there helps get things done. I've had to implement this myself. I talked about having a parent who passed away. I had to ask for help. I fell out of my routines. I didn't clean my house. I didn't do the grocery shopping for, I think I hit about the 10-day mark. And I called a couple friends and said, hey, I need a body double. I can't get these things done. I have exceeded my limit of where this is acceptable. And knowing when to ask for help is important. Empathy is the most important piece. I do not shame. I do not set specific expectations or limits. It's very different to my typical cleaning clients. If you were coming to me for organization help and you were coming to me for these types of things, that was already your hardest, that was already your biggest task. I do not have cancellation policies. I do not have fees. There are no reprimands. I fully expect, and it happens, I fully expect clients who come to me for decluttering and hoarding to cancel at least twice. Statistically, they will cancel at least twice, and it's very important to let them fall back, check in, and they will come back. If you push too hard, they will leave. So, and not only that, you know, we go back and we say, I am not a therapist, I'm not a mental health professional. However, it is very important that I listen. I hear stories all day long. There is absolutely always a story. It's very important that I stay calm, I stay focused, and I stay open-minded. And what else should be on here that's not here is falls into confidentiality. Unless you've directly told me it's okay, I do not share any of our sessions with anybody else. Again, say it a million times, it was the hardest decision was coming to me in the first place. I do not ever share photos, I do not share our sessions unless you've told me that it's okay to do so. So, things we've already said. Clean home is an investment in our physical and mental health. Oh, I apologize for that. I made an incomplete sentence. A decluttered home is a decluttered mind. That's what that's supposed to say. And we start small. One area at a time makes a big difference. Rome wasn't built in a day. Our homes don't get cleaned in a day. You said you have questions?
Yes. My first question is, so you mentioned that people who have particularly cluttered homes, like it can often like be a result of you know, larger confluencing factors and mental health. How important is it to address those things in combination with building habits, like, or can the building habits be enough by itself to kind of break through and lead to a tidier home?
In my experience, you definitely want to address the issues. That can look in different ways. You can do it yourself, you can work with a professional, you can work with a counselor. But yes, statistically, if you find the cause of the issue, I mean, look at, we're gonna look, you know, apply it to like medical. You know, if you are a diabetic, you know, we can give you the medication, but ideally there's other things, right? You're gonna end up having to change your eating habits. You're gonna have to change a lot of things. It's not just, we can't just throw medication at it. I probably think of a better example, but yes, I always absolutely recommend tackling the issue. Sometimes I can do that with you. Again, we always suppose I am not a professional, but I have experience. If I think it's gonna be helpful, and it's not overstepping any boundaries, we will work on it together and or make a bunch of recommendations. That being said, if you're not tackling the issue, it's not like I'm gonna stop working with you, but I will advise, hey, you know, I can tell you will hit a plateau. I have had that happen, and most of the time, you know, it gets addressed. I have only had, I like using the word fail, no, I'm not gonna use it here, but in terms of, we'll say, done to completion, only had 2 that were not done to completion. One was you know, applies to this, they were some things that they couldn't address, and they knew they needed to take some steps back, and they did, you know, so they didn't come back, but that's okay. And the other one was like what we discussed with having the sign on the door. There are some things it's very important for me to know my limits too. If we've gotten to the point where there's an unfit for human occupancy sign on the door, there's only so much I can do at that point. Because unfortunately there are things called laws, and I have to be careful about that.
Pesky.
It is, it's very risky. It's very risky. I have encountered, it's also very important to put my own safety ahead. It doesn't happen a lot, but it has happened. I've only had, I said, one hoarding home where I had to stop because, no, that's not true. I had another one. Yep. It's another good segue is the questions that we asked during the interviews or the consults, common questions that you may not think of, the questions I'm gonna ask, especially for these specific things where we get to really extreme situations. It's a good game to play. What do you think of the questions that I would ask that I've added to my list over time?
Are there any sharp objects? Like the TSA?
Yes.
not specifically that, but yes. Is there any hazard items I need to be aware of? Medication, needles? It's happened.
Needles, yeah.
It's happened. I've had to acquire specific equipment. But as a general rule, if I go in and it's there, I'm not going to come back. There's only so much I can do to protect myself. Another big question, sounds sad, big question is, what are the odds that I'm going to find the deceased animal? Happens a lot when we have a lot of clutter. It's happened. I've found things that I don't want to find, but again, not shaming is important. We know this is something that's gonna happen. So we just, the other odd statistic you may not think of is, it's a good topic, and when you live in this much chaos and you have pets, it happens with your children too, specifically for pets. Pets adjust to their environment. They're obviously better to clean home. Pets, I always try to give a heads up. If you have pets and you're in a hoarding situation and or a very extreme just amount of cramped space, the statistical likelihood of your pet passing away once I clean the home is very, very high. Because even though I've improved the environment, I have created a huge strain for your animal. And they're not really sure what to do with it, especially if they're already such very old. It's happened to me a couple times. And,
Question. So you mentioned that you work with a lot of elder people. Is there something about being in the later stages of life beyond, having it be harder physically to clean that leads to cases of hoarding?
usually almost always loss. So it's loss or loneliness, but again, loneliness you do loss. Which leads to another interesting question. If you could take a guess statistically, what more likely, men or women?
Women.
Men.
Yeah.
Majority of my clients are older men.
Men are lonely.
Oh, that's what you're asking.
Well, if you look at some of those older statistics, like when people pass away, most of the time, this is one of these phenomena, is when the wife passes away and then shortly after. Most of the time, I get the calls either from the men or their children, and when you talk about the cause, most of the time, it is either the wife, it's a divorce, or they died. Most of the time, the wife died.
Is that because of loss though, or is that because the woman was doing the
Second
cleaning?
one. Second one,
That's
it's
actually
always
good.
some version of, she did everything and I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
It happens a lot in the older generation. There was just, that's how things were. The younger generation, everyone's more independent, and the general, we've broken a lot of those. Yeah, it happens a lot. It's either divorce or loss. I've had a few though where it's older losses that come forward, because the other thing we're not talking about, again, mental health and cleaning, the older generation wasn't talking about this. So a lot of the older folks, I get to them because they want to have the conversations, but that was not something they freely had in their homes. And it's like they don't even necessarily know they need to talk about it, but it comes up because it's their home. I've had all kinds of scenarios of this. A lot of times the pattern for the men, aside from the wives, it's a lot of the military guys. A lot of the much older military guys, you could think about this, when they were deployed, they were in some really scary areas and they were living in some pretty crazy conditions. So I've seen that scenario where they come home and they just, once it gets bad, they're like, I'm used to this, it's fine. Or, and they don't realize this until they're in it, is, I already got this bad, maybe this is what I deserve. But I've seen that affect all generations. I have seen that affect all generations. Interestingly enough, I don't think, unless I'm mistaken, I don't have a single millennial client. All my clients are Gen X or boomers. I don't know, as a millennial, I don't know if that's pride, I don't know if we got it figured out. I'll tell you, I don't have it figured out. I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's, every once in a while, in terms of women, it's not always, but 99% of the time, it's an overworked mom. Not always a single mom, but just an overworked mom that is in too many directions and just literally does not know where to start. Not even a little bit, so they need to take something off their plate. So they call me, and usually with that, in terms of a plan, is the room by room plan. That's usually the best place to go for them, because we just take it one room at a time. Because if you try to, that's another good point, is when I'm doing this with people, we find it's been a fine-tuned process. Used to try to do like a 4-hour window. That's always the cap. I have found over time, burnout really starts to happen about the 3-hour mark. But I never max out after 4. Why? Because not only is this physically exhausting, it is mentally exhausting. Going through your things, cleaning your home, being in the presence of somebody else, you're being vulnerable, it's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot. That's the other rule too. If we set a time slot and we need to go down, never a problem. I would prefer you know your limits. Most often the sweet spot before burnout and more productivity, less is more. The most productive amount of time that I've worked with is 2 hours. You would be absolutely surprised what gets done in 1 to 2 hours. And we will, even if it's one section of a room, once you get movement, you're going to keep going. When you say clothes, put you on the spot a little bit. Is it too many clothes? If the clothes are on the floor?
Clothes are on the floor. I don't like put them away. They just.
And you're 23.
They end up. Yeah.
You absolutely do not have to answer this. You have ADHD?
No.
No? Most of the time when I see the floor joke, I know my husband's watching this and he's shaking his head at me. Floor joke drives me nuts. I have a floor joke. So does he.
Yes.
I didn't realize I was doing it. It works for me. I'll be like, I wore this for 2 hours, it was on the floor, I'm gonna wear it again this week.
I just like, I'm pretty good about it until I just like, I have an exhausting day. I come home, I'm ready to just lie on the couch. I don't want to put it away, just throw it in the clothes. And then as soon as there's one piece of clothing there. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so you're the one that's, the washer takes about 30 minutes, dryer takes about 60, folding and putting away takes 10 business days.
Yeah.
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 Yep.
Absolutely.
But, yeah, my son's here, and I'm see if I can get right in the face. When's the last time I washed, put away my own laundry? Yes.
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 Know your
is the
limits.
only- yes.
Know your limits. God love my husband. If I didn't have him, I would probably hire a laundry service.
Ugh, I need one.
My name's Raina. I'm a housekeeper, and I hate doing laundry. I hate doing laundry. It's a good place. What chore do you hate doing the most?
Laundry.
Laundry.
There's so many
Right?
I don't like doing.
Laundry is one of the most
Laundry is
common
one of
ones. I want that sign. Folding and put away takes 7 to 10 business days. I don't know what it is about the clothes and the laundry. We just think it's gonna, I always say the Disney movies just ruined everything for us. It conditioned us, and so many wonderful things were gonna happen.
Yeah.
Right? Like I just swear one day as an adult, I stood there like this for 10 minutes waiting for Bluebird to come undress me and do my laundry. Nope, that wasn't gonna happen. That was a mistake. No, we have to actually do it.
If only.
We have to do it, but if we weren't taught how to do it, we go back to the generational problem. If we weren't taught how to do it, we didn't observe it, and that's what happens. And or the opposite, if we were like pounded into our head that there's only one way to do something. Now sometimes I think that's worse than not learning it at all. Is being told there's absolutely only one way to do something, and in your gut and your, just the fiber of everything, if you know that doesn't work for you, guess what? It's not gonna happen. Because as a kid, if you have like consequence and someone's falling behind you, you're probably gonna do it. But when you're on your own and there's no consequence for that anymore, and there's no one to, you're just not gonna do it. So then what happens? Clothes stay on the floor, sheets don't get washed, the books stay all over the table. So you're left with yourself, and or you call somebody. So, any more questions? No? Good.